Okay, good evening, everybody. We're gonna begin the meeting of Wednesday, August 14th. I'll call the meeting to order and I'm going to call out the names so we make certain we can have a quorum. Josh Fay,
Josh Fay is here.
all right, Joe
Joe Emmerich here.
and Bill Marachek. So we have three individuals and that constitutes a quorum for tonight's meeting. The first item of business is the approval of minutes. We have three different sets, one in May and two in June. I will entertain any questions or comments that people
I-
may have.
Be sure that I saw both June meetings in here attached. On May 8th. And I saw June 25th,
25th.
but I didn't see the,
Oh, you know what? We put June 12th on because I think Liz was hopefully gonna get them to us. But then she
Okay.
didn't, so I wanted to have it on there in the event
Case.
she got them in, so yeah, so June 12th we'll push to next time.
Yeah.
And the only comment, is I think we just wanna run, I'm not sure who took the ones from May 8th, but we probably just wanna do a quick spell check before we final them to.
those were
have them.
mine, so I can make any.
Okay, so you can vote them as amended with the amendment being just a spell check to correct typos, and then those can be the ones that get loaded for like. The official finalized version.
Okay, so with no questions, comments, let's entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Two sets, one for June 12th, 2024, and one for June 25th, 2024.
Correction, and I'll move that we correct the minutes for June 25th, 2024, and May 8th, 2024, as amended. With spell check, but June
Okay.
12th are not in the
Okay,
package.
so,
And I'll second.
all right. So I want to make certain, so your motion is, I thought we were gonna do 6/12 next time, no?
Next time, yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm moving that we accept the minutes for the 25th and the
Oh,
May 8th. Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
thank you. So, second,
Second.
all in favor, Josh?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
And Bill, yes, okay. We'll move on to the Assistant Town Manager, Interim Human Resources Director's report.
All right.
Okay, Jeff?
So just a few things. First and foremost, I wanted to introduce you to our new Assistant HR Director, who officially starts on Monday, but she's here tonight to say hi.
Hello,
This is
everybody.
So I don't know if each of you want to just introduce yourselves. Unfortunately, we only have 3 out of the 5 here, Erin, but you will get to meet the others, hopefully the next time.
Okay.
Yes, I'm Erin.
Hi, Aaron, I'm Josh Fay.
Hi, Josh.
And I'm Bill Marachek.
Hello, Bill.
And Joe Emmerich.
Hello, Joe.
Can we just have just a short brief of her
Yeah.
background?
Yeah, ask away. She's been through a couple interviews, but now she can have one more informal one here on public
Can
TV.
Karen, can you share with us your background and where you
Sure.
come from?
Sure. So I'm actually coming from the staffing industry. We place contractors and direct hire staff all across the United States. I have been working in corporate HR at this company for about 4 years, and I previously worked on site at one of our large clients, just doing kind of like customer service and managing their contingent workforce program. So I'm ready for the next step in my HR career, and I'm really excited to start with the town of Concord.
Great.
Welcome.
Yeah, well, welcome. We appreciate the short introduction. We'll look forward to having you actually with us, I'm sure.
Yes.
And
Very much.
that will be a very, very real plus, and we share your excitement in terms of the town of Concord and what it has to offer, and also all of its challenges, which
Yes.
that makes it even better in my mind.
Yeah.
Okay,
Erin also observed our last meeting as well, but I couldn't introduce her at that point because things weren't final yet, but she was on our Zoom last time, so she got to hear all about the new salary plan implementation and all of that, so very proactive.
and the date of first day is
Monday
Monday.
morning.
Mhm. Counting down the days.
Okay, great.
Then otherwise you saw the status of hires and terms report that was in the packet, pretty self-explanatory. We've got a lot of the holes and vacancies filled now, which is great. Then in terms of the other couple of projects we're working on, Kimberly has been heading up the recruitment for the new director of the municipal light plant. So we're having panel interviews later this month. I'm also assisting with the recruitment for the Emergency Communications Center manager position. There's actually an item on there later tonight just to fix the status on that, so we can talk about that a little more at that point. And then not related to you guys, but we're sure anyway, we are making our way through bargaining with tentative agreements with a couple of the unions as of this week. So it's continues to be busy. Kimberly is now back in Florida, but she's been plugging away on a lot of other projects and things for us, even from afar. So that's my update for this evening.
Let's just pause a moment and take a look at the chart, the matrix.
Yeah.
And I'm curious in terms of a year ago, how would, and you probably don't have this in front of you though, but, or a year ago, but I'm just curious how do the terminations for the same period of time this year compared to the same period of time last year?
I'm going to take an educated guess and say that it's lower. I think that the last, 6 to 8 months, we really filled a lot of vacant positions and things have, I think, calmed down a lot more. We're definitely still busy with recruitment, but not like it was prior to my arrival, which is a positive. And again, with some of the changes and things we started to implement with the board's help in terms of, making benefits a little bit better and things like that, that's definitely going to help with retention efforts going forward, as well as recruitment when we do have vacancies to bring in folks from the outside. So all positive from what I can say.
So if I heard you correctly, and I'm just gonna repeat this
Mhm.
myself, so is that the number of resignations year-to-date 2024 is fewer than it was the same period of time, 2023?
That's gonna be my educated guess.
Okay.
Yes, I can certainly verify that and confirm for our next meeting, but just since the recruitment piece has slowed down, it makes sense
Yeah.
that, terminations, because
Okay.
one factors the other, right?
Well, I think as we move into Munis
Hmm.
and having that data available, perhaps in a more efficient way, that we in fact will be able to look at some of this comparative information that sometimes gives you a feel for trends and gives you a feel for how are the progress, the lack of progress, where the challenges are, but that I've always believed that having a historical perspective on a quantitative basis is important in the analysis of how things are going. I don't know,
Yes, the
Joe?
ability to track our vacancies better, like it's amazing. That's, I guess, the other big thing we've collectively been working on with the finance department is our ongoing conversion to Munis. We've had a lot of training sessions at them, meetings. We started setting up the accrual charts. We've set up pay charts. Next week, they're gonna be on site. I think it's next week, and we're gonna actually start the employee import process for getting employees loaded in terms of, name, address, basics, assigning employee numbers, all of that. So we are really full steam ahead. And I'm always nervous and I'm like, how are we doing? Are we behind? And the consultant tells us that we are pretty much right on schedule, if not a little bit ahead. So that's going well. It's a lot, but it's gonna be, I keep telling people my mantra is short-term pain for long-term gain, but certainly one of, the huge benefits will be, improved reporting, having all the data in one place.
Great.
The what you didn't mention, and I'm gonna, not that you weren't going to, it's just that, can you just share with us sort of the how things progressed with the increases and all of the paperwork and salary changes that you and your
Yes.
staff and probably
Yeah.
Kimberly as well.
We all have
participate.
some involvement
how-
here, there, and everywhere at a
how-
variety of
Sort of
levels.
what was your assessment of that effort and what were some lessons learned, if any?
It was definitely a pretty big undertaking. The ladies, meaning Shauna and Marie, our two generalists, spent an exorbitant amount of time just simply processing the change of status forms, verifying, double checking. Then Melissa and payroll was able to match and marry up and double check and verify. There was some manual tweaks and things there, so it's definitely the two sets of eyes to make sure everything was implemented and imported correctly there. We got through everything. We're just now wrapping up a few other odds and ends, which you'll see in the classification actions tonight in terms of some promotions, and then of course, item number 3 will be some of the market rate adjustment pieces that we talked about before. So this is really kind of the final wrap up, and then we'll be fully ingrained with the wage chart for all the non-union staff, and then each year it'll be much easier just to move people to step, assuming solid performance. And then the next project we'll be working on is really getting, those forms together in terms of what's gonna be a new goal setting form, the reviews, and that's where we'll be reaching out to this group to hopefully tap some of that expertise on what those forms should look like, and that'll be a project we'll all be diving into, so. Yes, it was a
Okay.
lot, but we got through it and everybody rolled up their sleeves and got the work done, which is huge.
Any real significant lessons learned?
For me, there wasn't really anything, that wasn't like a surprise. Like clearly there was the need to have things a little bit more automated, which we're working in that direction. I think it was good that we had the, information sessions with all the employees to really spell it out. We got some key questions and answers after people's forms and documents went out, but it wasn't anything significant. It was mostly just some folks that wanted to have it, fully understand it a little bit more, and that might have been nervous to ask questions at the information sessions in front of everybody else. But definitely it drove home that point that having the communication with our employees is key. So yeah, for the most part, I think it was very positive. I think the majority of people are happy with where they landed, and
So in terms of the union, people, who will do all of the, I guess I don't know who is gonna do all of the paperwork to get that into the payroll system.
yes, so we talked a little bit about this at our staff meeting this morning, and it's my understanding that Shauna and Maria, I think, are leaning towards having, being the ones that prepare all the change of status forms because it's all bulk groups and they're each assigned to different departments, different unions, so they're thinking it might make more sense for the July 1st changes to do those forms this time around, consistent with all the ones they just did for non-union. Then once we're in Munis, it'll simply be shifting the wage chart, and the wage chart's tied to each individual employee, so it's a lot more automated. There won't be, the paper and the forms and things that have to be completed manually by staff, either the payroll preparers in the departments or by HR staff.
What is what's the process, if there is one, for your staff or the two people you talked about? But is there a sign off by some member of?
Yes, that
the
change of
union?
status form. Well, the union signs off on the memorandum of agreement, and then they sign, which is this is the new wage chart. These are all the perks, whatever we're gonna be
Right, right.
giving. Then they sign the contract, and then the change of status forms are just signed off on by HR staff, the HR director. I think town manager signs, and there's 4 or 5 different signatures that route through. So, and then of course, if some union member has an issue, thinking that their pay is wrong, not done right, whatever, they bring it to our attention. Of course, if things don't get resolved, they can then follow the union grievance process from there, but I've never seen that happen.
Okay,
So make sure I'm paying attention to the way in here too. Okay, here it is there.
if there's anyone out in the public that has a comment about the rollout and how the town performed, or what suggestions you might have, I'll entertain those now. I'm a big fan of lessons learned, because there's no way, unless you pause and take a look and analyze what you did and how you did it, and their issues, well, then the next time you do it, you'd hope you learn from that. So I'm a big lessons learned fan. So if there's anyone out there who wants to make a comment, anyway, I'll certainly entertain that now. Seeing none, we'll move on
Hands
to,
up.
what's that?
No hands up. so-
No, that's fine. That's good. That's good. So, we're going to go on to, the agenda item 4.
Yes, Jason Bulger is here with us to present on that.
Good evening, Jason.
Hello. I think Kimberly was gonna open with something.
Yes, Kimberly, you're unmuted.
Thank
and
you.
good to go.
Thank you. Well, good evening, board members. Each of you is aware in the most recent year of the mammoth project that we undertook to build a pay plan with predictable advancement and with proper placement within the pay grade. And we continue those efforts, as Jess mentioned, to apply this compensation methodology to the 5 open union contracts. We were really pleased with the communication and the implementation of the increases for regular and non-union employees this year. Even with the lack of automation, the process went very smoothly. The proposal that you approved last meeting included one-time adjustments for certain employees based on their tenure and their assigned classification. That was the compression steps that we moved through. And it was a result of us moving the 85th percentile target from the midpoint to the minimum. And we did those compression steps, if you'll recall, in recognition of faithful and dedicated service to the town as well. And it was interesting to note that nearly 1/3 of our light plant employees received compression adjustments, and that light plant adjustments made up 1/3 of all the compression adjustments. It seemed like a disproportionate amount. And so what we're bringing before you tonight is further adjustments for the light plant group. You may be familiar with the Municipal Electric Association of Massachusetts, or MEME. The membership of MEME consists of the 40 municipal utilities that operate within Massachusetts. And as part of their mission, members can provide pay information for positions within their utility, which in turn can be used by other members. So it's pretty transparent, available information. And supply and demand for qualified personnel in these positions, where specialized skill is incredibly important, kind of drives the market for light plant employees and employees of utilities like them. And it's not been unusual for municipal utility employees to receive multiple significant pay increases within 1 year. In fact, a review of the most recent MEME data indicates an ongoing gap in Concord's pay rates when compared to our Massachusetts peers. And we've been aware of a significant difficulty in attracting line workers in particular, because here in Concord, we've been running a full crew short for some time. So this is a significant issue in light of this being a safety sensitive type of work. So after reviewing the MEME data, we find that it indicates in order to bring Concord line workers to market rates, an additional 6% increase or 3 steps is warranted. These increases to existing staff will recognize their ongoing commitment to Concord and bring them in line with employees in our peer organizations. This also will allow us to competitively recruit for talent in the marketplace, where we've had some challenges before. All the other positions within the light plant are to receive a proposed 2% increase or 1 step in addition to what's already been received. So while the personnel board isn't required, approval isn't required for these, because of our commitment to transparency, we wanted to share this information with you tonight prior to implementation. And then in 2020 or in FY26, we look forward to a full market analysis. So I wanted to acknowledge Michael Hale. I don't think he's with us this evening, but he's a retired light plant GM who's been doing some consulting work. And Jason, who's on, is not only our Chief Technology Officer, but also the interim light plant director. And they completed the research and analysis that helped bring this all to bear. And Jason's on and prepared at your discretion to provide an overview of information that was provided in your agenda packet, and to answer any questions that you might have. So Jason, I'll turn it to you.
Great, thank you, Kimberly. So as Kimberly mentioned, I've been the Chief Technology Officer for about 3.5 years here in Concord. I've been the interim light plant director for about 7 months, and I've got 14 years of municipal experience at this point in my career. I appreciate your time this evening. As Kimberly mentioned, municipal light plants or MLPs are very unique from the type of work that they do, which can be very dangerous and potentially life-threatening. Also to the governance structure, Concord is a little bit unique in how our light plant is structured. Most other MLPs follow Chapter 164's governance structure, which is that the light board hires a general manager, and that general manager can hire and fire and set compensation rates for all of their staff. Concord is not like that. We have a different governance structure. So in these other towns, these other municipalities and light plants, it's the general manager setting the pay plan. It's not tied to the town or city that they are in. And so, as Kimberly mentioned, we've seen over the years some of these other locations kind of hopscotch over what Concord is doing for compensation, and they look at compensation in lots of ways, including contributions to 457s, changing the health insurance ratio through makeup payments, and all sorts of other things that they try to do to compete. We're all competing for the same pool of highly trained folks, and again, I can't underscore it enough that this is a very dangerous job, and that everybody plays a part in keeping those line workers safe and the residents and businesses in Concord safe. So we just conducted a very large customer satisfaction survey of over 1,000 people in Concord, and 94% of them thought that it was important that their distribution utility was publicly owned, like the light plant. So we have a lot of people in this town who are rooting for the light plant. But remember that the light plant is different than from some other enterprises. If the light plant is not viewed very favorably, the town can elect to sell the light plant to an investor-owned utility. So not only is it imperative for safety reasons and for our staff that we do a really good job in terms of reliability and safety, but also that the stakes are a little bit different for the light plant. So we've had positions, as Kimberly alluded to, vacant for quite a while and been down a full line crew for a couple of years now. And that really impacts morale and the safety of the crew. I know that Mike Hugendorn gets concerned at times just about figuring out who's going to be available and on call for some of these summer months when people tend to take vacations. So the main data that Kimberly alluded to was very illuminating for me to see. I had not participated in those salary surveys before, so I did work with Michael Hale very closely to go beyond that and collect more information from other local utilities like Shrewsbury, Belmont, Littleton, Groton, just to understand what they were doing. And we also tried to look at their total compensation package, because sometimes people pay a little bit less hourly, but they pay a little bit more. They make it up in standby or other payments. So we wanted to just make sure that things weren't cherry picked and we weren't just sort of looking at the best possible outcome as a result of a lot of different MLPs. But it was very clear that a market adjustment like this was warranted. So the plan that's outlined in your packet, as Kimberly mentioned, was this 3 steps for line workers in those 4 positions that are outlined, and then 2 steps for 2% rather, 1 step for all other employees. And I did want to thank Kimberly, Jess, and Carrie for their time. We've spent a lot of time meeting about this and talking about it, trying to get it right and make sure that this was equitable for everybody. So I really appreciate their time. And then the light board, I did let them know about this last week when we alerted staff that this was going to be an agenda topic. They were all very supportive over email. And then today we had a light board meeting this morning, and they spoke again, just in support of a market adjustment like this. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
A question on the 3 steps, the 6%, how do you see that being applied? Is that over a period of weeks, months, or years, or what's the thinking there?
At once, like this is just a market adjustment, a one-time.
So I'm confused. Under the 3 steps, does that just mean points 2, 2, 2?
So their steps are the 2%
Okay.
are just like ours. So basically you move the 3 steps, so it's 6%.
So it would be a one-time increase of 6.
Right.
Okay.
Josh, you have any questions?
No, did you, Jason, prepare the overview here? I found it helpful.
Yes.
I'd like to, I've got maybe 2 or 3 questions. we noticed in the matrix that there had been 6 terminations in, year to date, I believe, if I'm correct, in the light plant. Is that, recall that correctly?
What am I making for now?
I know of one retirement in my time, and that's it. But is there
Three
somebody?
resignations, 1 retirement for light plant,
3 resignations, okay. Okay. I
What
thought
were
it-
the?
1
roles?
retirement.
So my question was going to be, in what would likely have been, or what was the reason why for the resignations, because if in fact the resignations didn't take place, then there wouldn't be a necessity to hire more people. I don't know, obviously, and I don't know if Jess, if you know, sort of the basis of those 3 resignations. Was it monetary? Was it, I don't like the commute? Was it, I don't like the organization? I'm just,
Yeah,
Trying to-
that I don't know, because I did
Okay.
not have the opportunity to exit interview those 3 individuals. Jason, I don't know if you have any insight. And I just haven't, that it's 3 resignations, I don't have the detail of who those were, but you probably have a general sense.
Yeah, if I have their roles, I could tell you that. I'm trying to pull up the year-to-date terminations
Well-
because that. I'm sorry.
I'm really not trying to get us into the rabbit hole. What I'm trying to do is make certain stay at a high enough level that is meaningful in terms of if, for example, the resignations were attributable to their issues around compensation. Then obviously this particular action that is taking place, you would think would mitigate that going in the future. So that I was trying to see if there was a connection between terminations and compensation. So that's the reason why I asked the question. Another an area is that the increases that we had for July 1st were based on GovHR's data collection. And that survey data collection was done, what, April? That is, it was, GovHR had to get the data on pay. So in the matter, if it was April, I don't know if it was March, but in the matter of less than 6 months, we're needing to make an adjustment again. Not that we don't want to make the adjustment. I'm a firm believer, we want to be able to have a town that has, a working light plant and, but I was curious as to why in such a short period of time. And the only answer I came up with is that the market in a very short period of time has dramatically changed.
So I'm trying to, Kimberly, are you aware of information we sent to GovHR in April? I was only aware of the GovHR, like the class and comp study from last year, so.
So maybe,
Hold on, let me try to, I don't know if I can unmute you.
The GovHR data was definitely not from April of this year for the.
Yeah, that's.
okay, so was it 2024 data or was it 2023 data?
2023.
Okay. Well, it's important that we track the current situation in terms of being comparable, but it's also important to understand, that things can move quickly in the compensation area.
I think that's particularly true in the light plant arena or in the utility arena. And as just mentioned, the last full compensation study that was done would have been done prior to town meeting and approval. And so that gives you about 1.5 years for other municipal light plants to make multiple adjustments.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful for me. And I do want to, acknowledge that, what was said earlier, that, the sharing of this information with the personnel board is very much appreciated. I think it allows for greater transparency because this is a public meeting and town citizens as well as employees, have an opportunity to hear and see, what activities the town is doing from the standpoint of making certain that it is paying comparable wages and making adjustments when necessary, but the adjustments are based on data. They're not just based on based on quantitative data, and they're not based on some subjective
Correct.
qualitative. The last question I have is that were there any recent changes in the organizational structure by any of the light plant across the area where we share data with? I don't know, but I didn't make that very clear. I think, Jason, you were talking about that we had a different kind of organizational structure here in the light plant. And I think I heard that it's possible that particular organization can change. It doesn't have to be the same for everybody and the same for the town. And I'm just curious from your collective knowledge, were there any changes in light plant organizations in the last year?
In the last year, no. I believe Belmont might have been the most recent MLP that changed its governance structure to be less connected to the town and have a formal general manager. But I believe that happened about 2 years ago. So in the last year, no. I do have data on those terminations that you referred to. I pulled up the list of them. So one predated me. Carrie can probably speak to that one. That was the director, why I'm the interim director. One of them I would definitely say was compensation related. And then one of them was the retirement. And then one of them I would say was not related to compensation.
Well, thank you. That's helpful. I think it's important again for us to understand what the facts are. Terminations in any situation can be very difficult to handle, cope with, and obviously the time and cost associated with being able to replace those individuals is high.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Just curious if there are any other positions the town's looking at or thinking about from a market perspective, now that we're a year and a half-ish out of the last GovHR study.
We've had a couple of people send messages saying they'd like to have certain positions take a look at, but for now, we're at least set for this fiscal year. And then there are some, again, reclasses and promotions that are on here for tonight, which is not necessarily market, but it is some adjustments we're making in that arena, so.
But there aren't any, it doesn't sound like there are any like specific skill sets, like where you've got municipal light, that was a concern where there's a bigger grouping or anything.
No, not as a big group like
More
that,
one-off.
no, more one-offs.
Okay.
All right, I think we can, unless any other comments, questions about agenda item 4. We can move on to 5.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next one is actually mine, the miscellaneous comp schedule, so you should have the red line in your packets. And essentially what we're looking to do is increase by $5 the maximum rate for laborers and skilled laborers. And then also add the categories of seasonal snowplow driver at the same differentials as labor in terms of minimum and maximum, and then also seasonal snowplow drivers who also hold a CDL license. That'll be the same pay scale as the skilled laborer. And that's essentially if we need to hire additional contract snowplow drivers to assist our regular public works crew. And Alan, since you walked in, I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to add on seasonal snowplow drivers, but.
I will add the following, that it was coordinated with Aaron Klosko,
Yes.
Highway Ground Superintendent, who oversees that program, and he seemed to be comfortable with the rates that you proposed, so
Yeah.
if he's comfortable, I'm comfortable.
Excellent. And then the last adjustment was under the finance department, the data lister position was only $25 to $30 an hour. So we're increasing that maximum to $40 an hour. And for that one in particular, we actually have somebody that's been in that role that has not had an increase for, I think, the last 3 years. Because they were at the maximum, so this will now allow us to give that individual a 2.5% increase for this year, like all the other employees received. So hoping we can get your approval tonight to put these updates through.
Questions?
When was the last time we updated or increased the max rate for the laborer and skilled laborer positions?
I don't know the exact date for those, but I do know that this chart was last looked at September of 23, so it's been at least that long, and I don't know if that was a full update at that time. Or only certain ones that we're doing tonight.
Okay, any other comments, questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I will move that we approve the miscellaneous compensation schedule included in the packet.
Okay. So second,
Second,
all right, so all in favor, Josh,
Yes.
yes.
Jill, and Bill, yes. Okay, the item 6, review and revote the PPP 10.2 PACE philosophy.
Yes, recall from our last meeting when we reviewed 10.2, it was voted, but Liz Cobbs had some thoughts on the opening 2 paragraphs under the Town of Concord pay philosophy category. She had expressed that, it would make more sense to focus first on targeting comments to retention of employees, whereas before we'd had it ordered with recruitment of employees. And then also get some language in there about, fostering a culture of trust, respect, transparency, etc. So Kimberly actually did some wordsmithing, and the red line version you have in your packet reflects what she came up with we both felt addressed the points that Liz was trying to make. So I don't know if you want to vote this, even though she's not now here to make the vote on what her, suggested ideas were. So the policy is still in effect today in terms of the meat of it. It's just these 2 paragraphs. So the board could vote it, or you could wait for Liz to have the opportunity to weigh in at the next meeting. That's up to you. But that's essentially what this language change is looking to do, just to address that.
I'll look to Jill and Josh, what, do you have any thoughts on?
I think
we have
this,
to wait?
I think this does reflect Liz Cobb's suggestions. Although I was recently working on the minutes for these specific, for that meeting. And actually it was Bill who wanted to move the word retain up. So
Okay.
keep recruit. I believe his recommendation was the Town of Concord strives to retain and recruit, but put retain first. And then, just because I wrote down word for word what Liz Cobb said, she said a culture of mutual trust and respect, as opposed to a culture of trust and mutual respect. It's very fresh for me, and so I'm gonna point that out to you. And I would recommend we, wordsmith just a little bit more and let Liz look at it.
Okay, that's fine. She's got it now, obviously, as
Yeah.
part of the packet,
Yeah.
so, I mean, it's up to the chair if you
Yeah.
wanna table it for
Well,
the
no,
next
I
meeting. but-
appreciate it. I mean, I think that's very pertinent, and we will make those little tweaks, and we will present this again for voting for at our next meeting.
But Kimberly, this is right. This is as discussed. I don't want to suggest at all that it's not the spirit of what was,
Good point.
we were trying to go for in the last
No.
discussion.
Adjustments accepted from this standpoint.
Okay, so we're going to, the minutes can reflect, we're going to defer voting on the PPP 10.2 until our next meeting with the minor tweak and then with Liz's attendance. So, okay, now we go to the classification actions. Jess?
Yes, so first up is review and vote the proposed new job description and classification. So this is for the Assistant Council on Aging Director. And I also just want to take a chance to introduce our COA Director, Dan Pettit. He's on tonight. I don't think the board has had the chance to meet him yet, so give us a wave, Dan.
Hi there.
So this was actually a position we had at one time in the past, that of an Assistant Council on Aging Director. For whatever reason, it went away, but now we feel that it's a very important role to have. It's going to be combined with the social services supervisor role that's in existence. So essentially, this individual is still going to oversee the social workers at Council on Aging, but they will also be assuming some additional duties by way of being an assistant director as well. It's a great opportunity for this individual. It's going to be a huge need and assistance to Dan in his role. So that's why we've made the decision that we'd like to marry those up. And where Kimberly rated the position, it fell in at a grade 11, which is the same grade as our assistant recreation director and a couple of other assistant level roles as well. So it's consistent in line with where other positions that are similar are falling.
Okay.
So Dan, I don't know if you wanted to add anything on that for context or background.
Yeah, just that this position, as you said, was one that we had before, and that was taken away, I believe, by the last director, and then we just felt the need that that this role is needed, and Nicole, who is in the position, is the perfect candidate for it.
Okay, good. Thank you, Dan.
Yep.
Any comments or questions?
Not for me.
Not for me either.
But how many town employees are in the Council on Aging organization? How many, rough, I mean,
I think you're what, 9 plus
Nine?
all the volunteers? 8.
Yeah,
Eight.
nine. Yeah,
9, okay.
9.
And those activities are centered at Harvey Wheeler, or are they around town?
They're
Right.
mainly at Harvey Wheeler. We do some programming outside and trips and things like that, but mainly at Harvey Wheeler.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the Assistant Council on Aging Director as a grade 11.
A motion to approve the Assistant Council on Aging Director
All right,
as noted in the packet.
Second,
all right, so all in favor? Josh
yes.
and Jay?
Yes.
Sure. Okay, then we're going to the Emergency Communications Center Manager.
Yes, so this is just a status correction on the job description that was voted through. It was noted that it was non-exempt. This position actually should be exempt based on the ratings and where it fell out. So this is, I guess, as Kimberly called it, a Scribner's error. It should be exempt. So we just want to revote that with the understanding that job description is approved as an exempt level position.
That makes sense.
Okay, so a motion, all understand?
I'll move that we accept the revision to the Emergency Communications Center Manager role as an exempt status.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Joe?
Yeah.
Bill, yes, okay. We're now on to the report on positions added to existing classifications, so.
Yes, so this is just an update on positions that we've reclassed, and actually we have everybody here from the respective departments in case there's any specific questions that I can't answer or simply items that they want to share. So the first one up is office coordinator for the library. So that was prior to this, that was an office assistant that was part-time. And the director, Emily Smith, who is on with us tonight as well. Hi, Emily. The individual left to go back to another community where they had worked before they came here to us. So Emily took that opportunity to take a look at that position, revamp it, look what she had in terms of FTE availability, et cetera. And that's now moved up to an office coordinator. So it will do the same things that the office assistant did, but it will be full-time, and it will also take on a lot more items in terms of things like budgeting, some forecasting, and a lot more higher level stuff. And honestly, given the size of the library, it was always a surprise that she only had a part-time admin. Because that's the only admin, so now she'll have one full-time admin for the library, which is much needed from my perspective and based on my experience as well. With libraries. Emily, did you want to add anything else, or at least say hi? 'Cause I don't know if you've ever been before the personnel board either.
Hi, everyone. It's great to meet you. Yeah, thank you, Jess. That's a great summary. And for about 10 years, this position was filled with a part-time temporary employee. So we're really looking forward to having a full-time person help. There's a lot that this person could do to help with our new facility that has meeting rooms that can be used by town boards, committees, outside groups. And those reservations are currently being processed by our reference department, which is not really within their ability to do, given all their other tasks with helping folks with reference questions, readers advisory. So we would greatly appreciate this this person taking on all sorts of additional tasks that really the assistant director and I have been attempting to do on our own and not keeping up with.
Thank you, Emily. I met Emily at the last town meeting. We
Okay,
chatted,
great.
but
Great.
the library is a unbelievable asset for the town, and certainly something that my wife and I frequent probably many times during the week, and I think a lot of other citizens in town also
Yes.
do the same.
It's our home away from home.
Yeah.
Thank
that's a
you,
good
yes.
way- That's a really, really good way to put it.
Hub of activity always.
Thank you
Okay,
so much.
is there a person, Emily, or is there a person that's within the organization now that is?
No,
is
this will be a posted vacancy
a posted
out
vacancy?
there.
Okay.
We expect there might be some internal interest, but we won't know until we put it out
Okay.
there, so.
All right, so I'll entertain, well, maybe what we should do,
Actually, yeah, there's no vote required for
No
this
vote,
section. We're
right.
just briefing you on what we've.
Right, okay,
what we've
that's
done.
right,
Again, that
yeah.
whole theme of
Thank you.
transparency, right?
yeah, thank you.
So the next two are back to Dan, the COA. So essentially, these two positions, I believe, were office assistants as well. One was a grade 1 and one was a grade 3. And then we have another vacancy that position did some higher level stuff. That person decided to retire, I want to say maybe 4 months ago, give or take. And essentially the work that person was doing, which revolved around transportation, a lot of the budget work, invoicing, payroll, things like that, got divided up amongst the other two staffers. So essentially now we've reclassed these positions to formally assign that work to them, upgraded them. And now they'll both be senior administrative specialists, grade 4. One will focus on, again, kind of the billing and invoicing and whatnot, and the other will focus on the transportation piece, which is, working with the drivers, helping them get their schedules. There's just a lot of things with transportation. If the vans are up for inspections, things like that. So those two would be promotions with people currently in those roles. Dan, did you want to add anything else on that?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. The second position too is our lead receptionist, really
Yes.
the call person for the center. So any call that comes in, she's fielding that.
All right,
Then the next one is program analyst for Public Works. So this position is going up to a grade 7. I believe it's a grade 6 right now. And this position is kind of the senior admin person for the department. But the bigger piece of that is they are doing a lot of work around the water sewer program and the various pieces included with water sewer and supporting that division, which of course is a pretty sizable division over there. Do you have anything else you wanted to add on that?
No, I'd answer questions, but that captures the essence.
Yeah. Perfect. So again, that's a internal upgrade for somebody already in that role, so. The next one is management analyst for payroll. So as I like to say, the street name, so to speak, for this is actually gonna be a payroll manager. So because Melissa Smart is going to be, has already now transferred over to my department to be the new benefits manager. She was doing payroll, so now we need to find a new payroll person. This is more of a clerk role historically. But now with the move to Munis and some of the other needs, within the finance department, we're deciding to make that a payroll manager, so this will have a little bit more responsibility, than what's been there historically. It will also be, huge in dealing with the Munis conversion and all the questions and troubleshooting and things like that that come with a new software system, so that is that role there. I don't think there's anybody on tonight to speak with that, but that's essentially straightforward, so that is a vacancy that we posted out to the general public, and of course, there could be internal interest for that as well, but that's actually a vacancy, so that's just creating that new role. And then the last one is management analyst for recreation. I believe Lee, the recreation director, is on tonight as well. I think she's the phone because I think she might be driving. But essentially, this is a promotion again for somebody within that department who manages all of the money coming in. There's money, cash, checks, everything coming in both for hunt recreation programs and then also all of the money that comes in through the BD Center. So there's a revolving fund for recreation, and then there's the enterprise fund for the BD Center. So a lot of money managing that, handling that, doing turnovers, dealing with, you know, all the contracts, things like that. In some ways, it's almost like a business manager type position. So based on the rating and everything, that also came out as a grade 8 for management analyst. And Lee, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, or if that pretty much summed it up, if that phone number is Lee, which I think it is. Yeah.
Thank you, Jessica. That sums it up.
Okay, terrific. So that's what we've been doing in terms of classifications. This is definitely a group effort between me, Kimberly, mostly Kimberly, but me and of course the individual department heads on here tonight that provided their input in terms of what they needed and what the jobs required, so that's that.
Just curious on how the town goes about the process for promotions. Is that like connected with the fiscal year, or is it just as the business? Or as
Ideally,
the
it
town
should
needs
be,
it?
and that's why we're trying to get these through now to try to tie it to this fiscal year, but I mean, some places I've worked, there was cutoffs, like you gotta, if you want a promotion, reclassification, whatever, you have to get it in by a certain date, you know, there's a window to do it. From my perspective, it should try to run with the fiscal year and budgeting, so hopefully we can try to get in that direction, but then there's always things that come up, you know, quite often too, like a vacancy, somebody leaves and you find that maybe that doesn't need to be a full-time job, somebody else could pick up those components and thus the reclass happens, so. You know, I mean, we can always pay people with like out of grade pay and things like that, which we do that, but certainly when there's something very clear cut. It just makes sense to maybe just marry it up, and that was, you know, a great example was the 2 for senior services. I mean, we had 3 full-time admins, and you know, there is still a need now for that vacant position, but it's probably gonna be something totally different once this is all implemented now officially. Dan and I will be working through to see what that vacant position might look like, if it's gonna be somebody doing programming, somebody maybe working on the newsletter, maybe helping with like the senior work program is one idea I was batting around this morning, which I haven't even shared with Dan yet, but it's coming at our next meeting, Dan. So really just taking advantage of those opportunities, as you all well know, often when there is a vacancy, that's a good time to rethink, restructure, and think about, you know, what we can do based on the skill sets we have in-house and go from there, so.
One other question.
Yeah.
So I've had this happen in my experience where people ask why these roles weren't posted. Even though there's someone in them and they're being promoted to a different position. I don't know if that happens, what the culture is like with the town, or if that's generally accepted as normal. But I'd be curious what thoughts are, how we might prepare to answer those questions if people ask why they didn't have an opportunity to apply if it is a new role at the higher.
Sure, for several of these, well, really the ones that are already filled, the people have been doing the work anyway, they've been receiving out of grade pay, so, you know, we felt confident that it was okay just to go ahead and upgrade the position and do the promotion accordingly based on the fact that they've been in the roles. And also for some of these roles, it's so specialized, like particularly like the water sewer program, that, you know, if we were to put it out there, nobody probably would have been a candidate that would have brought more knowledge than the person already doing the work.
Yeah, I think I think you make a good point, Joe. The only the only value is that you're consistent. And therefore you can't, if you were to. If everything is posted, then obviously you'd never be, no one
Right.
could argue that you're not being transparent and you're not allowing others in the organization. Because sometimes if in my experience, if a manager knows that there's an employee who wants to aspire to a higher level position, then many times the posting provides the opportunity for communication.
Right.
And provides the opportunity for the manager to say, oh, I wasn't really aware of that. Now, whether or not that's enough of a value to be able to have a consistent posting policy, I mean, that's left to you guys, as
Yeah.
to what you want to do.
No,
But-
definitely pros and cons either way, because then the other thing is too, is like when you have people that are talented and growing and worthy of moving up and getting a promotion, that, you know, a lot of times they've well earned it. It's that flip side, right? You know, you have that whole recruitment piece and hey, we've got people we want to invest in and grow that are doing that role. And yeah, I can see both sides, Bill, absolutely.
See, I would argue that it's more, I would argue that we should err on the side of having that openness. Because I know from my own experience that people will leave if they feel like they don't have an opportunity to
Yeah,
move into a higher level position or a position that has more responsibility or for more variety. And unless there's this opportunity, many people aren't really necessarily inclined to sit down and talk with their boss or their manager or supervisor. So
hopefully with
anyway,
our new goal setting and our review forums that we're gonna be working on, that'll be that perfect
Well, that's-
opportunity. People's part of their goals can
that's a
say,
part
like,
of it.
I'd like to do more, I wanna learn this, I'd love something over there. So hopefully that's all gonna
Yeah.
evolve as part of that process too. And that's why the goal setting is so important, so you can get a sense on what people are looking to do and where they wanna go. And then when opportunities come up, we'll be like, hey, I think that person might actually be really good for this. I wonder if they'd be interested, so.
well, Joe,
I was just gonna say, I mean, there are pros and cons, definitely, and I've done both in my life, and I've now kind of got to the point where we try to post everything,
Mm.
even if it's just for 5 days. The two reasons why we do it is, one, it eliminates favoritism or the perception of favoritism, even if it's not real, and gives kind of the entire employee population a chance to apply for it. That's the biggest reason.
Yeah.
It does slow you down a little bit, but you know, the culture in the town, like if there's not a lot of feedback from employees of that nature, then it probably isn't a big issue for you guys, and you can assess that on your own.
okay. Good conversation.
Yeah,
Thank you all
that's good.
for
You're welcome.
that. So I guess we're ready to move on to the item 8. The personnel board charge and timeline, which just never seems to go away.
No, I did share it with the town manager per the board's request, and she did not have any significant feedback or ideas for change to it based on the latest version that's been circulating with the edits and comments, so.
I don't know, is Mark?
He's on.
Oh, okay. I don't
Yes,
know, yeah.
both Mark and
I don't know, Mark, if you have anything to contribute here on your thoughts about where we're at?
Yeah, I definitely want to begin to get a sense of how soon the personnel board might like to meet with the select board and discuss the details of the charge. When I met with you, Bill, and Liz as co-chairs, we talked a little bit about some potential goals and initiatives that the personnel board may want to consider, and I didn't see those in the packet today, so I'll just mention what they were. In terms of where you're already going, first, let me back up a minute and just say I'm really pleased with the level of dialogue and interaction that I'm seeing at the board level and with staff compared to a few years ago. I wanted to commend all of you for the effort that you're making. I think that this is the kind of thing that we were hoping to do to inspire that mutual trust and openness across the organization. I really recognize that it's a change and it's very welcome. So, you know, it was a pleasure to watch you doing business this evening. But in terms of goals, it seems to me that understanding the strategy and implementation of a performance and appraisal system that's been alluded to a couple of times today is a good goal to have for FY25 and beyond. Monitoring the overall class and compensation system equity. I heard and actually fully support the effort to make some adjustments at the light plant. I think that, you know, there's twofold. There's the retention side and there's the recruitment side. And we're blessed with an incredible amount of dedication, easy for me to say, from the employees that work for the town and in the light plant in this case. But I also am well aware of the struggles that have, you know, really been ongoing for a long time, trying to get the light plant to fully staff. I think if you roll back the clock and ask the question in the form of when was the last time that we were fully staffed on line crews, that would be an indicator of the problem that's attempting to be addressed by these market adjustments. And so I'm very supportive of that. But understanding that, you know, in terms of equity as well as assessing and supporting recruitment and retention is important. And then lastly,
Mr. Howell made all kinds of great comments.
Mark, can you hear me?
Able to hear that part.
Oh, that's right, isn't it?
Mark Howell, can you hear me?
Yeah, as long as we hear what he's saying.
So Jess just sent me a text message and she said they're having trouble with Zoom on their end and they weren't able to hear you.
it's like they kind of froze up.
Yeah,
But we'll wait for that.
yeah.
That was a good speech too.
It was very good.
very good.
I told Jess we heard every word.
You're good.
Mark, it was riveting.
He memorized what he was gonna say, so now he has to.
Smile out
I
of
don't
it.
know if this will work having it in here because the Zoom's up there. Can you guys hear us?
Yes, we can. See you.
Yes, Jess, we can hear you.
All right, sorry, we had major technical problems here. Mark, you were talking away and probably said some amazing things and we didn't hear any of it.
Right. Now we're seeing somebody's laptop power supply.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
You're not seeing me.
What?
The media doesn't show us, but that's all right.
Oh, the videos. Oh, because it's what the heck camera is that? Is it this thing? Oh, that's why. All right, hold on.
Yeah, that'll do.
All right, there we go.
I almost have given up.
We lost the owl. The owl died. I don't know what's happening with the owl.
To quickly pick up on the point, I was suggesting that I think that if the personnel board considers what goals and objectives it might want to see as part of a dialogue with the select board over an updated charge, that would be the next step in preparing a draft that we could include in a packet and schedule in the future select board meeting so that we could get an updated charge in place. And my suggestions were for possible goals and initiatives you might want to consider was the strategy and implementation of a performance and appraisal system, monitoring overall class and compensation system equity and implementation, assessing and assess and track employee morale over time, and assess and support recruitment and retention. And my commentary on all of that was that I was really pleased to see how much of that was already going on in the activities that you've even had in just this meeting.
Well, that's very helpful, and I think our scribe is taking down all of those points.
About strategy for performance appraisal, classification,
I'd be happy to-
retention, employee morale, and recruiting and retention.
Yeah. I'd be happy to send to.
So what I'm hearing is that we need to have as an agenda item next meeting, is to confirm the objectives, goals and objectives for the personnel board for the balance of FY 25.
I think that would be a helpful element in an update to the select board. And then we could, take that and the draft charge if you're ready to propose it and present that to the select board, ask the select board for input, since I personally look at this charge as being a sort of a document of understanding between the personnel board and the select board about what sort of is happening in that space on behalf of the select board. And of course, from our perspective, it plays into one of the elements of the town manager evaluation, which we're actually in the process of collecting for FY 24 and preparing the goals for FY 25.
Okay. And is the select board have a timeline marked for FY 25 goals, or is this or it's a little loose in terms of actually?
We're looking to put the goals in place, I believe, at the September 26th meeting. Was that what we agreed to? It was just,
Yeah, I think the first draft, September 9th. That's
yeah,
what I
we're
have.
going to have a discussion about the evaluation on September 9th, and I think we were looking to finalize that September 26th.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you. And that the goals for the town manager, though, would not be made public until the meeting of the second meeting in September, is
The
that?
23rd is Carrie's review, yes.
I think they'd be finalized. I want to say, Carrie can correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that a draft of those goals was kind of already out there. I'm not sure.
No, not yet.
Not
Not for 25. You saw a status update on 24.
24, okay. So, but we have discussed select board goals for
Okay.
20. Those are in draft at the moment, so they're kind of what you'd expect. But, I think that the interesting thing that I would hope would be part of our conversation, and really I'm very interested in your opinion on it, is what are the potentials for collaboration between the select board and the personnel board, specifically over the HR management aspect of the town, and what can we sort of expect that the personnel board can be responsible for over time, so that when we get to this point next year, or hopefully a little bit earlier, and we're evaluating both progress and setting new goals, we can come back and say, how did we do in these areas?
Just off the top of my head, Mark, it seems like there needs to be a working communication session in order to try to define just what you've said in a way that makes sense. I see it as you've already communicated, it's a collaborative kind of effort to even get this into writing.
Yes, I agree. So, I would think that once you've had a chance to, discuss that and make some suggestions, we would call it a draft of the personnel board charge, and then circulate that to the select board, and we would discuss it as a board in the meeting, because obviously I'm just one opinion as the liaison, and get the benefit of the select board's opinion. And then I think we would ask both boards to weigh in on what updates or where we landed on that, and come up with a final version. So I would expect that we could start that conversation in September, and maybe have an expectation that within 1 or 2 meetings of each board after that, we have something that we wanted to call final and look for ratification.
Okay, good. I think that makes good sense.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark, for your comments. Always glad to hear from you, so thank you. Any other thoughts from personnel board members? on what we're talking about here?
Not for me.
Okay.
More from me.
Okay. So I think, Joe, you're gonna be, the key person here to make certain that you've got an understanding of what should be in the minutes, because that will guide us in terms of how we should look at our next meeting and what we need to include as items for discussion or items for the agenda.
Sure.
All right, I think unless there are any other items, any other business, I'll open it up for any public comments from either the participants here in this room or on Zoom. Yes, yeah.
Hi.
Aaron?
Mike Guggendorn, the line supervisor, Concord Lake, and I appreciate Jason coming to speak on our behalf, and I just wanted to second what he said. It's definitely been a challenge over the last couple of years to try to recruit linemen, and it's becoming a little more difficult to retain in the current market. So we're, looking forward to this increase, hopefully going forward.
Good, good. Thank you for coming tonight and sharing that. I know you, even though it was only a few words, it's very meaningful to have, people in positions of responsibility within the town to come, because obviously it's a public session and people get to recognize who you are and your contribution, and it's we all have to work together in order for this to be a success.
Absolutely.
But the town of Concord certainly has a lot to offer, and the leadership and the management of the town seems to be all in sync, so that's always important.
Just spell your name for the minutes, please.
HOOGENDOOR.
Thank you.
And Justin and Justine.
Justine.
And Alan, thank you both for also coming, because recognize that there are other things in life other than the personnel board meeting, so thank you. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn at
All right.
6:41 PM.
Okay, that's pretty good, yeah. All right, second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you all very much.